Hey guys, what's going on? My name's Dr. Frank. I'm the founder of Addiction Mindset Recovery Coaching Programs, which are dedicated to helping people quit nicotine, THC, energy drinks, and adult media content addictions I once struggled with. In today's brief video, I'm going to be responding to a post from a community member who's asking me about relapse. This person was doing really good quitting weed and they relapsed. And that's what we're going to talk about in today's video. I'm going to help those of you guys out who have relapsed because I promise you I have been in your shoes before. Before I read the comment, I just want to point out if you guys check out the pinned comment in this video or the video description, you can get access to a free 7-step PDF on quitting smoking weed, or you can choose to join our Addiction Mindset Accountability Group. It's an accountability group where we work with one another and where we have live sessions with myself each month to address questions. We're going to have guest speakers, challenges, all types of fun stuff. Siphon YT says, just relapsed today, unfortunately, and I have to say I felt worse than I ever had the past 3 or 4 times I've smoked. And I'd rather deal with the consequences of withdrawal than feel this gross pain I'm feeling right now. I feel I just wasted my last 13 days not smoking and I effed up. Hopefully, I can learn from this so it will never happen again. Wish me luck. And people were super supportive in the comments already. I have a few tips for you, Siphon YT. The first thing is, and you kind of alluded to this in your comment, it's not a waste unless you allow it to be a waste. And I would say right off the bat, a relapse truly is a learning experience. You can look at the situation and you can ask yourself, what went wrong? And after you identified what went wrong, you can create a plan of action. So when you're facing similar circumstances in the future, you know how to handle them and avoid relapse. That would be the most basic thing. Next thing would be, is this really considered a relapse, or was this just a temporary lapse in your sobriety, if even that at all? Right? A relapse, in my opinion, is when you go back to using a drug and your life circumstances, your situation becomes just as bad, if not worse than it was prior to your quitting. So if I were to go smoke weed right now one time, right? One time and one time only, and nothing happened. I got high, I went to bed, I woke up again the next day, and nothing occurred in my life, and I stopped smoking again, right? What would the consequences of that be? Literally nothing. Honestly, nothing. I'd probably get a crappy night's sleep and be upset with myself, but it's not like I lost my job because of that. It's not like I went out and, caused chaos and left my wife because of that. It's not like I blew my bank account on that. There's quite literally would be zero consequences to that behavior. Now, I'm not encouraging that behavior, but I'm trying to put this into a reality check for you here because I see that you're beating yourself up and that you feel so down on yourself. And I want you to be realistic. Were there any consequences of that action, of that temporary lapse in sobriety? Or is it just your brain and that addicted voice blowing this out of proportion bigger than something that it needs to be? Because I think that's what's happening based on the tone of your comment. And that's something that we got to watch out for, because that's how addiction starts to suck you back in. That's how you might actually fall into a relapse. So there's that. The next thing that I want to tell you is this. If you lost 50 pounds and you gained back 5 pounds, you still lost 45 pounds, correct? So is that journey that you went on to lose 50 pounds a waste? Of course it's not. You learned all about nutrition. You learned all about cooking healthy food. You learned all about discipline, enough to lose 50 pounds and then only gain 5 pounds back. That's an incredible accomplishment. And you didn't get to 13 days. You didn't get to 15 pounds of weight loss without learning something and bettering yourself. So, of course it's not a complete loss. Of course it's not a complete failure. It's a minor hiccup. Now, the next piece of relatively good news that I want to tell you is sober is sober. So whether you're 13 days sober, you're 1 day sober, or you're 10 years sober, in my opinion, it doesn't matter. Now, I understand there's logistics to that. Yes, at 13 days, you still probably have weed in your system. Yes, at 10 years, you've really, really come a long way in advance. But at the end of the day, if you say, I quit, and I'm sober 1 day, 10 days, or 100 days. In my book, in my programs, it doesn't matter to me. It's no different. That person is sober. That person quit using a substance. And I'm telling this to you because we can pick up right where you left off right now, today. Anyone watching this video that's relapsed, you can pick up right where you left off right now, today, immediately, because sober is sober, period. I don't smoke weed, period. Whether you're 1 day in or 100 days in, you are now a non-smoker once you've declared that. And that's really good news because that means that you didn't just lose 13 days, 100 days, 5 years of sobriety. That's really, really good news. So you take the lack of consequences in this case, as long as you get back on track, right? Combine that with the fact that sober is sober. Realize that you've learned a lot, and there's probably something more that you've learned from this experience going forward that you can apply. This isn't that bad, and there's no reason you should be beating yourself up for it. Now, my last tip for you is this going forward. When it comes to quitting smoking weed, I want you to imagine that weed is no longer an option. So if you really don't want to relapse, take weed out of the equation, pretend like it doesn't exist. And I know how insane that sounds, but when you tell your brain, this is not an option, this no longer exists as part of my life, your brain will eventually come up with other solutions. Now, it might take a week, it might take a month, it might take a year for your brain to figure it out, depending upon how deep into weed addiction you were. But it will come up with a solution for you eventually, as long as you allow it enough recovery and sober time to do so. And I think just viewing it as so you get depressed, you get excited, you get anxious, and you want to smoke weed. What happens if weed is not an option going forward? What happens if we took that option off the table and it no longer exists? What's going to happen next? I'll tell you, I am excited as heck for you, Siphon YT, to find out what happens next. I really, really am, because I think you deserve a lot better than all these feelings of shame and guilt and these feelings of crappiness that weed is giving you. You deserve a lot better than that. And I need you to give yourself the opportunity to experience better. So in your case, based on what you told me, take weed off the table as an option going forward and look forward to figuring out what your brain is going to come up with, because I think it's going to be something awesome. I can just tell because, yeah, I just can based on the tone of your content, your comment. All right, guys, if this helped you out, follow me into the next video where I talk a little bit more about relapse, or join the Addiction Mindset Accountability community, or download the free guide on quitting smoking weed. You got 3 options: video, accountability community, free guide on quitting. It's up to you. I don't care what you do. Just do something. All right, I'll see you guys later.